Hey, I'm Matt with the Bug Blues at Mississippi State Entomology Department. Today we're out here in Knoxville National Wildlife Refuge looking at a rotten log. Now, a lot of people will just walk by a rotten log and go, okay, cool, we're out in the woods, dead trees. But these are actually critical parts of these environments. And insects play a massive part in these ecosystems. And I call them ecosystems because they really are entire ecosystems. If you go in, look at a rotten log, you can just come in, peel off bark, and look under it, and you can find hundreds, if not thousands, of insects, of dozens to hundreds of species living in these logs, and all the different micro ecosystems created by regimes of moisture, of fungal growth, level of decomposition, and just sunlight. All these basic factors create a variety of niches that all over this log that different insects can inhabit. You get everything from, beetles that inhabit freshly killed trees, all the way through to things that inhabit very late stage decay where they're essentially just living in a mound of dirt that looks kind of like a tree. Today we're going to go through and look at the several stages of decay that a tree goes through and talk a little bit about the different insect communities you can find in each one. This tree from the trunk essentially looks alive, but this tree has already been killed by beetles, maybe it was killed by a drought stress, something has killed this tree. But we're looking at stage 1 decay, where the tree is still upright. If you look up at the crown, almost all the fine twigs are still there. This essentially is a live tree that just died. Now inside this tree, we're having the starts of the whole decomposition process going on. A lot of beetles that attack live trees will still be present in this tree, but we're also getting some early decay species as well. It's really hard to view these communities though because the bark is well attached. This stage of decay is heavily influenced by the amount of sunshine actually present on the tree. Because the tree is upright, it's really hard for water to get into this ecosystem. And if this tree stands in a broad exposed daylight, this tree is going to very quickly dry out and really limit what insects can live inside it. But if this tree stays in a forest that has plenty of rainfall, this will actually become a very diverse environment, especially once this tree falls. Upright trees tend to have much less diversity than fallen trees because of the amount of moisture that's available to get into it. But they also offer environments for insects that couldn't live in high moisture environments, such as drywood borers up in the topper branches. If you look at the log, most of the bark is still here. This thing is freshly fallen, it's still in pretty good shape, but some patches of bark have started to become a little loose, but it's mostly here. Now if you look at the twigs, this tree still has most of its twigs, which is a good indication that it's still in early decay, but some of the fine branching has been lost, and you can see that the branches are a little coarse here. And as decay progresses, more and more twigs will get lost, and going into stage 3, you only have major branches left. But right now, we're still pretty early on. There's a lot happening under the bark here, because now that the tree is dead and starting to decompose, most of the chemical defenses in the tree have started to break down, allowing more generalist feeders to come into the tree, and the diversity is really increasing under the bark here. This thing is probably in stage 3 to 4. So stage 3 is defined by the bark is here mostly in patches, and the wood is soft on the exterior, but still sound in the middle. And if you look here, we got some soft wood. You can pick off the outer edges of wood, but the hardwood is still here well. And further down this tree, you turn into stage 4, where the bark is essentially gone and the wood's gotten a lot softer. And this is one of the most diverse stages in the life cycle of this log, because you get all kinds of niches still present. You get hardwood borers, or need fairly sound wood in the middle of this tree. You get a lot of fungal decayers that are on the outer edges of the tree. You have a nice transition through here that produces a lot of biodiversity. This log is entering in stage 4 decay. Actually, it's pretty far into stage 4. You can even see here along the edge, some of this is getting powdery and actually starting to get into stage 5. This is another good example of how logs, like one piece of the log, will be in different stages of decay than the other parts of the log. But as you move up into the regular part of this log, you can see that the bark is all gone, the outside is getting really deteriorated, and it's really soft. This tree still retains its integrity as a log, but most of the nutrients have already been processed out of this piece of wood. There's still decayed insects here for sure. You can find a lot of best beetles. This is where you would find like unicorn beetles coming out of the log, things that take a long time to develop in the inner heartwood that still has a slightly better state of decay inside there. But since the bark is gone, a lot of the small insect community that was here in stage 3 has also left, because there's nothing to shelter them and give them that nice protected ecosystem anymore. But decay's not done, and insects are still at work here. Essentially, we have a tree-shaped pile of dirt. You can still tell this is wood, but it's essentially just crumbling. You can pick it apart. There's no substance to it anymore. The tree is pretty much decayed. Insect diversity in this stage will have gone back down to very low. You'll find some late stage decomposers, you might even find some best beetles in here, but this tree has essentially finished its decay cycle and is ready to become nutrients back into the soil again. But even though diversity has come back down and this ecosystem is closing up, this end stage of decay is providing nutrients for all the other things in the forest around this location. And this is the stage where all the nutrients end up coming back into the forest and fulfilling the cycle of the tree. Knowing that this log is in stage 2 instead of stage 3 or 4 made me confident enough to walk out on it. Also, this log perched up here above a river actually is a dry log right now. There's not a lot happening under the bark of this tree, but the fates of this log might suddenly change in a rainstorm and shift the insect community from a dry community to a wet one very rapidly. The fate of a tree is uncertain until it's finally done decaying. All kinds of things can happen to a log in the forest.